All right, hello, and welcome back to the Leadership Circle, where today we're going to have a little bit of a different conversation. One of my favorite things about what we do here is we talk to women who are members of Be in the Room, and today we're going to talk to Mandy Minitello. And what's amazing about Mandy is Mandy wears the entrepreneur hat. So she is the Chief Business Development Officer and the Chief Marketing Officer at Childcare Business Professionals, and she leaves a career in teaching and got into kind of playing in entrepreneur land, but as an entrepreneur, and has done some really amazing things. But what I think is really important about the conversation we have today is not so much about intrapreneurship versus entrepreneurship, but the energy of which we bring to the work that we do. And so it doesn't matter which side of the fence that you sit on, we can all still bring an energy to our work that is not actually serving us. And so that's the story that we're going to talk about today. So Mandy, welcome. I'm so excited you're here.
I am so pleased to be here and honored to be asked. And it's just a wonderful week to be asked, actually, as we head into Thanksgiving. I have so much to be grateful for, and to be part of this community is one of those things. So I'm so happy to be here.
Awesome. So do you want to start with just a little bit of your bio, kind of tell everybody who you are and what you do and how you landed where you are today?
Absolutely. So as you said, I started off in the world of education. I went from being a student to a teacher and had a successful teaching career for almost 20 years, actually. And then, anyone who's been affiliated with education, whether it's your own kids or you're in the education world, knows that the world has changed since 2000 when I started. And it got to be less and less about the kids. And so, and more about red tape. And so I thought, I really want to make a difference. I didn't feel like I was making as much of a difference in the classroom anymore. And so I chased, administration, and found out that you make even less of a difference when you're sitting behind a desk because you don't have 20 people, with little faces in front of you. And so I just thought there had to be more. And about that time, I was introduced to the world of network marketing. And all of a sudden I realized the entrepreneurial mindset, and it was real. And I honestly think that God placed it in my lap because I ended up making a bonus with that company that equaled a year's worth of salary teaching. And even as an administrator, as a assistant principal at the time. And so I left. I finished out my school year and I left, and I figured this was God showing me what to do. And that was the first time that I had ever done something without a 10-year plan attached to it. And I learned over the next few years that I appreciate the entrepreneurial mindset. I love the entrepreneurial mindset, but it scares the pants off of me. So after 2 businesses that I don't want to say they didn't fail, but they just very stressful to me. I became a business coach for people with the entrepreneurial mindset. And then that, through a series of events, it landed me where I am now as the business development officer and CMO for Childcare Business Professionals, where I can appreciate the entrepreneurial mindset, the visionary, all of that. And I love it, but I know myself and I like the intrapreneur. It's the blend of the best of both worlds as far as I'm concerned. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And I love it.
Awesome. And you are amazing at the work that you do. So we titled this Chasing Energy because when you got into entrepreneur land, there were a lot of messages that you heard, Mandy, that made you feel like you were chasing a lot of things. You want to kind of walk through that story a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you come from a background like I do, where no one in my family was an entrepreneur, I was a teacher, which you could say is about the most stay in the box safe profession there is. I could, maybe not, but that's how I felt. Very predictable, very what to expect on whatever day this is. November 21st, I could pull out the same thing that I did last year on November 21st, and next year I can pull out the same thing. And as sad as that is, that's the way it is. You get into the entrepreneurial world, and not only do you not know what's going to happen next year on November 21st, you don't know what might happen tomorrow. And that's super exciting. but it comes with these messages that were brand new to me, and words that were brand new to me, and theologies that were brand new to me. And so things like you should have 5 streams of income at all times, and things like you determine how much money you make or how much effort you put. And some people are selling you on, you can make $5 million tomorrow sitting on the couch eating bonbons as long as you have the right funnel, or whatever. And so these things, being as I'm in the place I am, I'm not 20. I already had a full career. Now I'm starting this, new mindset, and I got to play catch up.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to catch up with the people who started this when they were 21. And I've got to figure out what these 5 streams of income are going to be. And I've got to figure out how to, in my mind, I had to work more and harder up front so that eventually I can make $2 million eating bonbons, in front of my, or whatever.
Sure.
And that was that energy that if you're feminine, masculine, that very masculine corporate energy that I didn't know anything else. And so that's kind of where I lived for a long time.
And what was the result of that, living in that masculine energy?
So, when you think about entrepreneurial lifestyle, and the reason that everybody wants to be an entrepreneur is time freedom and financial freedom. And what I found is neither. I found that I was working harder. And because I wasn't the entrepreneur, I was the intrapreneur, I had to make up for everything because and so I was working more hours and longer. And if the person that I was supporting didn't get up until 10, that didn't mean that I didn't start work at 6. And then since they didn't get up till 10, they might work till 5. And so then I'm working till 10. And that was just the way that I thought it had to be. And then as far as financial freedom, I was trying to grasp at anything that came my way without really investing myself and my energy in one thing and getting really good at it and being able to, excel at that thing. So I'm all over the place mentally. I'm all over the place with my calendar. And pretty soon, when I heard it come out of my husband's mouth that he wished I was back in the classroom, making $40,000 a year, but at least he knew I was home. And I'm thinking, this is crazy because I work from home, but I was never home. I wasn't mom. I wasn't wife. And that hit me because I thought the reason I left was because there had to be more. And I found more, but that wasn't at all what I wanted. Yeah.
Right. And I love this story from an entrepreneur standpoint because we think that this only happens to entrepreneurs, right? We're like, oh, this is something that only happens to the business owner, but you were still chasing the same thing just inside of an organization. And at the time you were working from an organization that promised you the moon and the stars if you would do all the things, right? And I'm sure that probably network marketing, I think probably has that undertone as well, right? It's super easy to make $1 bajillion as long as you do this, this, and this. So all of this leads to lots of hours, not being present, maybe a small pay increase, but not really anything you anticipate, not anything life-changing, all of the things going on. What finally flipped the switch where you were like, I am chasing the wrong thing? Obviously your husband making that comment, but how did you make that transition?
Yeah. And I wanted to say something about network marketing for all the network marketers out there. I remember them sitting me down, and not really sitting you down, you're in some training, and they say, sit down with your family and tell them that you're not going to see them for 6 months, but it will be worth it afterwards. And then go make, 9,000 cold calls a day. And I'll tell you, it works. Sure. But that's what started my mindset of and I love network marketing. Get into network marketing and grow. And I can teach you now how to get to the pink car and the double diamond and the 200K and whatever without doing that. But just don't do that. But anyway, because that was the start of my whole thing. But what really got to me, so I ended up, when I first started with childcare business professionals, we're a startup company,
Mhm.
and I was brought in at the C-suite level, and I was told right off right from the beginning, like, we don't have a culture like what you're used to. And I was like, all right, I'm here for it. Here we go. And then I couldn't stop. I didn't know how to stop. And it took my coworkers, like, they would literally, like, get upset when I
Right.
would send a message and it's, 6:30 on a Friday night, or,
Mhm.
I'm obviously, doing something on a Saturday. They would call me out. And I
Right.
was like, oh, I know, I know. As soon as I finish this thing, then
Mhm.
I hear you. I hear you. And but I literally, and I say this to all the people out there because I'm sure I'm not alone. I did not know how not to be that way. And when I think about it, I went from being a straight A student
Mhm.
to a magna cum laude college student to a teacher that got more done at recess than most people do all day, to a business owner who was figuring it out as I went because I didn't know business anything at the time, to a corporate business coach. And it was always, that's just, I didn't know how not to work like that.
Mhm.
And so my staff members would get upset at me. So then I was like, it's like a person with an eating disorder, like hiding in the closet eating. I would work and just like try not to like let anybody know,
Right.
because I literally didn't know how not
Right.
to do it. And the thing about the entrepreneurial world, whether you're an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, is you never get to the end of the to-do list anyway.
Right.
So like, it's not like if I just did this, then I'm going to finish what I have to do.
Mhm.
And so I had people at work telling me this. I have my husband saying, the things at home. And this is going to be really embarrassing for anybody who's watching this live, because this wasn't that long ago, but I live in Port Charlotte, Florida. And anyone who was watching the news on September 28th knows that we got absolutely demolished by the hurricane. And I literally had been in therapy for months to try
Mhm.
to stop my workaholism, and whatever.
Mhm.
And I was working on it, and I was honestly getting a lot better.
Right.
And then the hurricane hit, and I had 3 weeks of no power, and I work from home. And I work on the internet. We just got our internet 2 days ago, by the way, and today's November 21st. So, like,
Right.
and it was, and I'm a God girl, so God basically put me in detention and said,
I
take
love
over
how you
your
describe it
life.
that way.
Yeah.
You gotta time out. Time
Eh,
out. Go sit down.
yeah. He put me in detention, and my work family agreed that I was in detention because
Mhm.
I could not stop by myself. And so I'm in my house. My town's demolished. Everything's closed. My house is fine. I mean, all things considered, and I'm surrounded by my family for 3 weeks. No school, no work, no nothing. And reality just put me right in check. And I quit all the extra things. I just didn't have to quit them. I just didn't go back to it.
Right.
And I was shown so much love by my work family
Mhm.
that I knew that's where my soul was.
Mhm.
And I just, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm
Right.
wasting so much energy
Mhm.
on things that don't even matter. If no one noticed that from something that I was gone for 3 weeks, what was I doing? Chasing it.
Right.
So
Because the part is you didn't mention that in addition to your C-suite level job inside of a startup, you were also side hustling on like 12 other projects.
right, right. I
Yeah.
was those streams of income, right? I have a passive income from network marketing, which I still believe in 100%. That one doesn't take work. I need 4 others like that,
Right.
but like I was, yeah, helping people out. And the part of it wasn't even for income or anything. It was people pleasing. It
Yeah.
was, I have this ability, I have this knowledge, this know-how, this skill. They need it. I'll help out. I'll coach here and mentor there and support here, and all the things. And when I had to stop, some of those people didn't even check in on me. I was like, good. So it just made me realize what's really important. And just because I can doesn't
Mhm.
mean I have to.
It doesn't
And
mean you should.
yeah, yeah. And it's
What
not,
would you
and just
think?
because it falls in my lap doesn't mean it's from God. Because, he brought a hurricane. I'm not saying I caused the hurricane, but he definitely used it. And I'm listening. I'm going to listen to a Cat 5 hurricane. And I don't need to listen to all the other voices that are saying you should do all these things. And
What were you afraid of in saying no to those opportunities? Because most of those opportunities came to you, right? Just because of
oh,
who you
100%.
are, the work you've done, the relationships that you've built. So it wasn't like you were out looking for coaching
Uh,
opportunities and support opportunities. They came to you.
yeah.
What were you afraid of if you were to say no to those opportunities, Mandy?
What's funny is I was afraid there wouldn't be another one. I
Yeah.
was afraid if I said no, I then and not that like somebody would hear I said no, just how would I, look the gift horse in the face kind of thing.
Yeah.
And when the first one or two came along, I was like, oh, okay, I'm good. Like I needed them. But
Right.
then it was, what if this stops happening?
Right.
What if, and it's that total and 100% scarcity mindset, which is
Mhm.
again why I'm in therapy.
But I think that that's so important because in a world that promotes being a workaholic, right? It's very hard to find something wrong with it, right? Like it's very easy when somebody overindulges in drugs or alcohol, or even you use the food example earlier, right? Overindulge. Like it's very easy to say, okay, this is not serving you. But like we're taught that being a workaholic serves you.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, like I said, I was a straight A student because I was a workaholic. I was magna
Yeah.
cum laude in graduate school because I was a workaholic. I was teacher of the year because I was a workaholic. But when you add up those things, like let's just say, because I don't want to say everything's about money,
Sure.
but it is. You add up AP, straight A student, magna cum laude, teacher of the year. What does it add up to? Certificates on the wall.
Right.
Like that's all. And you
But
know,
what's interesting too is you still identify with it though, because you just said, I got these things because I was a workaholic.
mhm,
But it's very possible that you could have been a straight A student just because you were really smart.
true. But
Do you know what I'm
I'll say
saying?
I had to work for it. I'm one of those people. Yeah, I did have a tutor, but
Well,
yeah,
I get it, but like not in maybe your specific example, but so often that's our story, right?
oh,
Like I did this thing, this got me this result, where
yeah,
sometimes that wasn't even necessary, right? Like we think, you know, A equals B, and sometimes it doesn't,
oh,
right?
absolutely.
Sometimes the result is B, even if it took like XYZ, ABC to get to B, B might still very well be the result. And I think that that's something I've had to learn this year, which is why I'm so excited to have this conversation with you is yeah, like the idea that these are the steps that create the result. And that is the only way to get there. It serves you to the point where it doesn't, right? Serves you
Right.
to the point where it then becomes detrimental, which it seems happened to you and very much
Absolutely.
happened to me last year as well. So,
Absolutely. And
um,
it's more than workaholic, like I just love to work because that wasn't it.
right,
It's
right.
being a good girl my whole
Mm,
life,
that's it.
being a good girl. And like people pleasing to the max, to the
Yep.
point where like I'll do whatever. I picked my college major based on what other people told me I should do. And
Right.
now as a mom to a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old, I tell them like I don't you have to have a plan. And it has to be a viable plan. You're not just going to be like a NFL star or YouTuber or something unless, without a plan. But like I'm not going to tell you what to do. I will support you in doing what you're good at, what you want to do and whatever because it's now I'm like the reverse. I like
Mhm.
don't even give them an opinion on things because
Right.
I don't want them to end up feeling like I did. Like everything just to be a good girl. And in the corporate world or the where I first got my taste of entrepreneurs, it was like if you're available at all times, if you learn anything that you possibly can and you need to be invaluable and then we'll reward you with
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I think we all do some version of this, right? Whether
Mhm.
intrapreneur or entrepreneur, in our careers, even like I'm thinking of you talking, obviously my kids are little, but even I took Georgia the other day to get a haircut. It was like her first big haircut. Like we've trimmed her hair a few times, but like we chopped 6 inches off her hair. I was like, I can't brush through these. This is not going to work for me. So anyway, and we're on our way home from getting a haircut. And I'm talking to her and everything. And she goes, Mommy, yeah, baby, do you think I'm pretty? And I was like, how do I answer the question? How do
That's
I
a
answer
good answer.
the
Yeah.
question? I'm like, oh God. And then I was like, wait, stop. I'm like, baby girl, do you think you're pretty? And she goes, yes. And I was like, that is all that matters. And like, I just turned it right back around on her. Cause of course I could, obviously I think she's pretty. Have you seen my
Right.
kid? Right. But like, I didn't want that to have to come from me. So the question was, do you think you're pretty? And I think that's kind of what you're saying you do with kids is like, Mom, what do you think about this or this? It's like, what do you think about it? And I've started to do that. Even like women be in the room will reach out to me and like, hey, I'm thinking about blah, blah, blah. What are your thoughts? I'm like, my thoughts don't matter. What are your thoughts? And that's the hardest thing to do because you and I are both doers, right? We're both,
Yep.
I know exactly what to do, but I can't tell you what to do. It's a very hard balance to walk. So before we wrap up, I want to kind of talk about, so as the result of, your mandate, your mandated breakup with workaholism, what has resulted in a very short period of time for the positive by you having to take this massive step back?
Well, it's really interesting because first was the detention time
Well,
and the
yeah,
reflection and the letting go of all the extra things, and then it was this reflection time of who do I want to be?
mhm,
What do I want my role to be?
right,
Because when I would like coming into childcare business professionals, there was a jillion things I can do. And so I was just doing all of them. And
right,
I look at the time, my job title was Chief Business Development Officer. That was like sales
right,
and marketing. Um, but I never fully stepped into CMO
mhm,
because it didn't feel like I had the time, the energy, and the effort to like be the chief part of that MO. Like I know some marketing, is this is how I'm feeling. Like I know some marketing and I'm gifted in copywriting and whatever, but who am I? You
right,
know, to and and Evelyn, the CEO was like, "You're my chief marketing officer, and like, what do you need?" Like
right,
you're just what in the world. And it was this slap in the face of like I'm holding myself back because
yeah,
I'm seeing myself as only good enough to do 900 things but not fully embracing that
mhm,
one. And so like I am proud to say that I am the CMO. And I enrolled in a very prestigious marketing program and found that I didn't need to start at the beginning. Like I do, like I've known all this. I
yeah,
just wasn't owning it. And
yes,
so now I am fully stepped into the CMO role. I'm learning new things because I want to be the kind of person that goes, oh, Instagram changed this morning and I'm aware of it now.
right,
But like as far as like, marketing, I'm just really embracing the things that like I've always known and I've
mhm,
always done, but I wasn't, I didn't feel like I had earned that spot for some reason.
I
And
love that.
I'm letting go of some of the things that I'm good at, but don't bring me the joy as
Yeah,
much, you know?
mhm.
So
And I think I told you that was the last thing, but I think this is so important that you're talking about this because there's a lot of people that, as in the entrepreneur role, working for somebody else, think that they don't have the power to step away from the things that don't bring them joy. Right. You're like, well, I work for somebody else. It's really easy for an entrepreneur to say, well, yeah, I got rid of that thing that didn't bring me joy, or I hired somebody to do that thing that didn't bring me joy. How have you navigated that as an employee, right? Going to your leader and saying, hey, these things they don't belong on my plate anymore. How did you navigate that?
well, the beauty of true entrepreneurism is that you have a voice at the table. And
Yes.
like that's the difference between because I used to be very proud to say like I'm the best employee Cause like I was like, I'll do whatever you tell me to, and I'll become amazing at it. Like that was my like goal, is like, I will not only do whatever it is, but I will be the best person, and I will be your most invaluable asset. But like, as an entrepreneur, you have a voice at the table.
Right.
And so when I'm doing all the things because I can, I came to her, and I basically, what we did it as an activity, as a whole company. We wrote out our job descriptions, like every little thing we do every day. And my job description was so like for job, just and so then I came up with a plan, like, okay, here's everything that I'm doing now. Here's the things that I want to pass off to somebody. Here's the person I think we should pass them off to. And here's the plan of how I'm going to train them. So it's not just like, I'm not doing this anymore,
Right.
kind of thing. And then the second step of that was, we were challenged, and this was awesome. Evelyn challenged us with our own personal development plan for mindset and skill set. What are you going to do so that you become fully this role, whichever your role is? And so that was really what it was like. Here's the plans for letting this go. Here's how I'm letting it go. And then here's why I'm going to be even more valuable without all the things. And it has been beautiful. And that was, like I said, that's when I started, the Marketing Academy, and like, really getting immersed in one thing. It's so nice.
I love that. And again, regardless of what seat you're sitting in, there's parts of that I think that you can do, right? Yes. Even if you're like, well, I don't work for an entrepreneurial company who's going to hear that, you can still do that for yourself, right? And I even think as entrepreneurs, if you are still a solopreneur, or it's you and a very small team, this exercise I think would be hugely valuable, right? Like, what are all the things you're doing? Because we've done that inside Be in the Room. Like when we launched Be in the Room, we launched with all of the assets that we had when we were a larger company. And then I had to realize, what was going on with my team and time spent. And so we killed some stuff, right? Like we killed our podcast, and we killed a couple of other things that we were doing from a marketing perspective because they weren't moving the needle, right? It was like, well, why are we spreading ourselves so thin? So I want everybody to hear what Mandy just said. Like, I don't care if you are an employee in a company that does not want your opinion, or you're an entrepreneur in a company who does want your opinion, or you're a CEO or entrepreneur who is running a business, like taking time to write down, like, these are the things that I do every day. And are they moving the needle? Do they bring me joy? And then mapping out that same plan of how do I get this off my plate? And oftentimes, I don't know how much of you guys found, Mandy, was we discover that some of the things don't matter. They aren't moving.
Absolutely. Or you're doing things that are, for lack of a better term, below your pay grade.
Right. Amen.
If you are CEO and you charge other people $500, $1,000 an hour, whatever, then why are you, doing some of the stuff? And if you have to right now, because you're a startup and you're in that position, that's fine. That's when you develop the plan.
Right.
And the timeline for getting it off. So some of those things I'm still doing, but like, I have a plan and it's very clear. And if you're an employee, and this is what I teach my kids, like, I don't care what your job is right now, be the very, very best you can at it, so that when it's time for you to have a voice at the table, that voice is heard. Yes. If you're complaining and you're entitled and you don't show up and you like all the things, all the stereotypical stuff that you hear, then when it's time for you to say, hey, I'm doing all of these things and I don't really want to do this one, your voice isn't heard. You don't have a voice at the table.
Right.
So yeah, in that point, you be the best at whatever it is you can be, want to be. And whether you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, or employee, when you're the best at what you can be, you have a voice at the table.
So good. This was so much fun, Mandy. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable, right? Because that's, it's never fun to realize, to talk about those things. And obviously vulnerability is something we value very much and Be in the Room. So thank you for being willing to share. If people are interested in learning more about you, about childcare business professionals, what are some places that they can get a peek behind the curtain?
Well, childcarebusinessprofessionals.com is our website. We also have Childcare Business Professionals Community on Facebook, and that is anyone who's in early childhood education, I can honestly say there's about 1 million Facebook groups, and a lot of them are full of complaint and shame and not really liking your job, which is the number one thing that we don't allow in our group. So if you're looking for a positive place for support and help, I have a heart for education, as does the rest of the team. And so we really pump a lot of free support and help into that community. And if you want to ask me something specifically, I'm on Facebook, Mandy Minitello, or Mandy at childcarebusinessprofessionals.com. I'm an open book, happy to help and answer anything for anyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Mandy, for your time. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thank you.